Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 10th of February, 2026. I'm Graham Hughes. You're watching Morning Brew on Politics Social, where we go through the news of the day, or yesterday usually, and try and make some sense of it together with our beautiful friends in the beautiful chat here. We've got Reverend Kathy, we've got Ernie Burns, we've got Diz in there, we've got Daylight M, we've got Saz and Martin. Hello one, hello, we've got Pete's Music. Hello one, hello all. If you would like to join our wonderful friends in the chat here, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button, and that will unlock an achievement. The achievement being able to comment, but don't be a troll or we'll take that achievement away. Right, so big shout out to everyone. Like I say, today we're going to get straight into it. And whilst Anna Sarwar yesterday, the Scottish leader of Scottish Labour, he gave a surprise press conference as I was driving to pick the girls up from school, which is really inconvenient because like, oh, might like to do a live show about this. That would be good. But now I had to listen to it in the car on the way to pick the girls up. Really bad timing that. And anyway, so the Scottish Labour leader delivered this surprise press conference, and he called for the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, to go away. Stop being there. Be someone else. Be somewhere else. Be someone else. I don't care. Just come on. Off you jolly well pop. He said that the distraction in Downing Street has become intolerable, and that change in leadership was now necessary. It was definitely necessary. It was definitely intolerable. Indomitable. Inevitable. Anyway, but the point is, I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a silly mood this morning. Sarwar's calculation, he said, was electoral, not personal. He said, I quite like Keir. He's all right. I don't mind Keir. He's all right. He's a nice guy, but he can fuck off. You're a lovely guy, but can you fuck off? And then, you see, there's some internal Scottish dynamics here showing Labour are in danger of falling behind both the SNP and refuck in the Holyrood elections in May. And I guess that Sarwar needs to make a break from London because London ain't too popular, I guess, with the people who vote for Scottish Labour. Maybe London's a bit persona non grata at the moment. That's not a person, it's a city. Civitas non grata. Is that a real thing? I don't know. Reverend Kathy with the first super chat of this Tuesday morning. Thank you very much. Starmer found something he believes in. His power. Power. Well, thank you very much for the super chat. I don't know. I honestly think this is all going to come down to the fact that there's no decent successor waiting in the wings. But I do think that Starmer's been mortally wounded by this. And actually, I said that the other day because he's this whole Mandelson affair is, it's a mortal wound to poor old Keir. But yeah, Sarwar's team believes that the Mandelson Epstein damage is baked in, and his assessment is that Starmer cannot recover fast enough to stop further collapse in the vote in Scotland before the vote in May. The intervention landed at possibly the worst possible moment for number 10. It came less than 24 hours after the departure of Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, which we talked about yesterday. And also on the same day that the head of comms. Labour had a head of comms. Clearly wasn't very good at it, his job. I had the head of comms, and he also went. So the government machine was already destabilised, and he thought he'd stick the knife in. He also thought that the leader of Labour in Wales would rush to his defence, and that didn't happen. So I don't know if there was a miscommunication, or maybe like the Beastie Boys, an ill communication. I don't know, but Downing Street's immediate fear was contagion, and if one or two cabinet ministers followed Sarwar publicly, the leadership could have ended last night. And then all my worldly predictions about Starmer clinging on till at least after May, maybe clinging on for 2 years, but definitely going before the next election. He's kind of hedging me bets a bit there. Would have been blown out the water by the fact that we would have seen Starmer just out on his heel last night. Homeless. Sleepless in Seattle. Homeless in Downing Street. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mad job, isn't it, being Prime Minister? You lose your house. Literally, you lose your home. You don't just lose your job, you lose your home as well. Out you pop. Off you jolly well pop. But it wasn't. Starmer wasn't ousted because no cabinet members followed him. But there was panic in Downing Street. Around early afternoon, senior aides believed the premiership of Keir Starmer was in real jeopardy, and the scenario they feared was a cascade with Sarwar, and then saying, basically giving his no confidence in Starmer, cabinet resignations, and then Streeting or Rayner move towards a leadership contest. A tight group of ministers and officials began a urgent phone operation. They contacted cabinet members and junior ministers and to lock in visible support, and they demanded that everyone write on their socials that they supported Keir Starmer. They suggested wording that was circulated to ensure consistency, and almost every message stressed the mandate that Keir Starmer had for winning the election, stability, and the danger of chaos. Chaos with Ed Miliband. Business figures were approached with the argument that market confidence would be hit by a leadership vacuum, which it could be, but I don't like the fact that the markets, unbridled capitalism, are deciding on our political structures, but whatever. And this reinforced the idea that sticking with Starmer was the option. I'm trying to think of a good word to put there. The reasonable option. Yeah, I don't know if it was the reasonable option. I think it was just the only one. The only one that they can really get away with. I don't know. So one by one, the senior ministers posted on their social media backing the Prime Minister, and the volume of the number of senior ministers writing these messages became the message itself, I guess. The show of unity changed the psychology of the moment. And the political calculations, I guess. MPs who have been wavering concluded that numbers for removal were not there. And several MPs say they felt heavy pressure to declare loyalty publicly. And some described it as organised, whereas number 10 rejects the claims of threats. And I don't think there were threats. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. There might have been threats. I just think what's probably, possibly, maybe, slightly more likely is that they just said, look, you won't have the numbers. This is going to be a disaster if we get rid of Starmer now. Cool your jets, and maybe a little bit down the line we can sort something out. But one of the more interesting interventions was from Angela Rayner, who's not part of the government at the moment. She was the housing minister, and she was the deputy prime minister. But she's not anymore. But she does command a large segment of the party. She urged her colleagues to unite and work as a team. And coming from someone widely viewed as a potential successor, this was decisive in keeping Starmer in post. Her intervention effectively froze momentum towards any kind of putsch. Once she moved, the path to removing Starmer narrowed dramatically, and this happened despite the recent embarrassment about an apparent website for Angela, for Rayner for leader. That went online for a few moments in January. She denies involvement, and allies call it a fake or a dirty trick. Nevertheless, the infrastructure appearing at all underlines that many assume a contest is coming. Just not right now. Just not right now. Cool your jets. George. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Very worried. Greater GOP to fund right-wing parties in EU and UK. Yeah, that is a worry. And I think that across the left, we need to get more organised. Stop fighting amongst ourselves. You know, oh my God, this person looked at me funny 17 years ago. I never forgive him. We need to stop doing that. Honestly, please, if you're watching this and you hate the Greens, stop it. If you're watching this and you hate Labour with the pathological loathing that you should probably be reserving for refuck, which is the real danger. And I know it sometimes feels like Labour can, some of the stupid shit it's done is it couldn't possibly be, any worse. That refuck couldn't possibly be any worse. But yes, refuck would be worse. Would be so much worse. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening in America right now. Okay, just look at what's happening in America. That's the future that refuck wants. And if you're sitting there going, I'll never forgive the Lib Dems because they did the Lib Dem thing when they were the Tories, or I'll never forgive Labour because they did the Iraq War, or they said these mean things, hurty words against the previous leader, or maybe they allowed the previous leader to become leader, which was a stupid thing to do. And have a bunch of entryists to get into the party, and they say, let's get this guy who's like really fucking useless. Let's put him in charge. It will make the base want him more. Yeah, but we don't have a proportional representational system, so the votes are wasted. Wasted vote. But yeah, I do really feel like that when I meet Labour people who go off on one about the SNP, or I meet Lib Dems who go off on one about the Greens, and I'm just like, oh, for God's sake, we can be strategic about this. We can work together. I mean, the differences between these parties isn't that great. It really isn't. So yeah, I'm happy to work with anyone or talk to anyone who's on the left. I'm not particularly tribal in that way. I just don't want the fash getting in. I'll do anything that it takes to stop the fash getting in. There's a lot of people out there at the moment going, oh, all you people who voted for Labour, I bet you feel like twats now. And I'm like, well, not really, because at least we got rid of the fucking Tories, which would have been worse. We were worse. We had them for 14 years. We got, well documented and lived, documented evidence and lived experience of them being worse. But when it comes to the power of the billionaires from America, from Saudi, from the UAE, from Russia, who are trying to fuck us by making sure that the people who get in power are right-wing twat bags, rich right-wing twat bags, who are going to take absolutely everything from you and want to leave you absolutely impoverished. There was a Nigel Farage thing yesterday where he was going off on one about people people working from home and how disgraceful that was, and how we should stop working from home. We should go out and pick some flowers and it's like, hang on, if you live somewhere where getting into work costs an absolute bloody fortune because maybe the office is in Newcastle and you live in Durham, so what, you've got to spend 2 hours of every single working day just getting to and from work, and the expense that goes with it. Does your employer pay for you to get to work? Do they fuck? I mean, you might get a company car. That was more of a thing in the 80s, wasn't it? They don't really do that anymore. Not that I've seen. But yeah, you get like you get a what's it called? Like a deal, don't you? You get a salary offset. But yeah, Nigel Farage sitting there going, oh, why are people working from home? It's a guy who hardly ever goes to the fucking constituency which he's supposed to represent, and does a lot of his little vox pop things, his little things where he says things like up the Ra. He does them from home. I'm working from home right now. What difference would it make if I went to a studio? I drove to Durham town, and there was a studio there, and I sat down, with my laptop, opened it up, got everything ready. It just mean I had to get up at 6 instead of up at 7 each morning. I have a green screen behind me. I guess I've got a pop-up green screen. I could just put that behind. I could just stand that behind me on the stand. I don't need a studio. I've got a decent mic. I've got a decent camera. What do you need a studio for? If that homely background upsets you, I can literally put my pop-up green screen behind me and have any background that I want, which is what I'll probably do in a studio anyway. Yeah. Simon, it was Scott, says Martin Harrow. spoiling the end of the whodunit. Have intervention. What are we talking about? We were talking about Rayner's intervention. The infrastructure appearing online. The infrastructure. The website of Angela Rayner appearing at all it shows that she does. She is going to go. She's going to go for leader at some point. And the other person who's probably going to go for leader is Wes Streeting. And he faces a risk because of his perceived proximity to Mandelson. In fact, he's written an article today on the Guardian website about how it's a bit unfair. It's a bit unfair to say he's busy mates with Mandelson because it wasn't his fault. He was just standing there, and Mandelson just happened to be standing next to him in the photo or something. It's not fair. Ignore the smears, he says. I was never a close friend of Peter Mandelson, and I fully understand the lessons we must learn. I knew him, but not well. And worry now that he thrived in our political culture. It was not just failed vetting, there was a failure of moral seriousness. Shut up, you balloon! The goon's a balloon. Shut up. Anyway, so that association alone with Mandelson, even though he's trying to deny it today, in an article in The Guardian, if you want to go to the Guardian website and have a look at that, could have sunk any future leadership bid. He knows that. So, he basically said he backed Starmer, and so did Rayner. So the two people who were in a position to actually go after him, become his successor, both said, no, it's fine, we're happy with the things as they are right now. Because, as I keep saying this, who the fuck would want to be Prime Minister right now? Apart from Nigel Farage, because he can feather his nest. But if you actually want to help, if you want to do good, it's very difficult to do good in this current environment, in this current climate. And we're completely beholden to the American economy and American tech. We need to stop doing that, don't we? Hi, Yuri. How you doing? Surely it's healthier to work from home, less stress from traveling, less risk of workplace arguments, less risk of catching flu. I almost read that as catching fire there. So less risk of catching fire or cold from a person sat next to you. Yeah, I mean, look, it works for certain people. So when I lived in Liverpool, I worked out of my flat. Well, yeah. I say worked. It's not like I had a shop front. I edited videos at my flat for a couple of years, and then I think in 2005 I moved to an office in Dale Street in town, which was part of the old elevator building, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Why? Because I got to go in each day. It made me get out of bed and actually get on with stuff. And it also, more than that, it allowed me to work with other creatives. So through moving there, I ended up meeting up with Scott Jones, who did the album artwork cover for the Arctic Monkeys. Also designed the rose. You know, the rose that you get next to your name if you join the channel, the logo of this channel. That was designed by the same guy who designed the cover of the first Arctic Monkeys album. Did you know that? Nice little. But yeah, that came about because I moved there, and it was recording studios. There were dance studios there, and I've got friends who still have to this day that I made because I decided to, use an office in town because it was only 15 quid a week. Jesus Christ, them were the days. 15 quid a week for an office in town. But also at the time, I was living in Oval Park in North Liverpool. I was quite close to the train station, Old Park train station on Moss Lane. So getting into town was cheap. It was only like £1.70 at the time for like return on the train. And it dropped me off at Moorfields, which is around the corner from where my office was. It's fucking great. And I had access to the office 24/7, and there were bands coming and going, and the Klaxons rehearsed there, the Zootons rehearsed there. It allowed me, at the time I was a music video director, to mingle with more groups, more bands, work on more stuff. So that really worked for me. But doing this, it would make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense because all the contributors on this show, as I showed when I went down to see them last week, all the contributors on this show are people who live all over the bloody country. We've got Ollie, who's in Yorkshire. Phil is in Lincolnshire. Loads of people down in the southeast. There's no one here in Durham apart from Ben Chambers, the heavy business. But yeah, just it wouldn't make much sense to me to have to go to an office here in Durham. Made sense when I had a different job. So each to their own, whatever works for you. But studies have shown that people working from home are, on average, 15% more productive than people who go all the way into the office. Because do you know what? If you've got a massive slog to get into the office, by the time you get there, you are fucking dead. If you're going to cram into the underground in the morning and everyone's standing up and you're facing someone's bloody armpit, that's not a nice way to start the day. Viper Scott's putting out the little roses there. It's cool. Where streeting reminds me of a defective inflatable doll with a permanent slow puncher. It reminds me of the autopilot Otto from Airplane. You know, the inflatable autopilot. Remember the Tories almost sold ARM to NVIDIA? That would have been the most influence concentrated in the US and created more of a brain drain from Cambridge to the US. Lots of desk-based for rent in Liverpool, especially in the Baltic area, creative sector. Well, that's it, Martin, because, being a pioneer, we actually moved to the Baltic Triangle before everyone else. We were there first because they moved the Speed Brothers, who owned the Elevator Studios at the time. They moved their studio. Well, they moved their building basically, and everyone in it over to the building on Upper Parliament Street opposite the Keynes Brewery, and we all piled over there. It was great. Must have been there for a year and a half or something before I started my Odyssey expedition. It was just absolute blast. And then more creatives came into the Baltic area, into the Baltic Triangle, and it became I don't think it was even called the Baltic Triangle at the time. It was just called that bit by Upper Parliament Street. But yes, there you go. George only. Yes, indeed. Brexit has made us more beholden to the US, which is now a shrinking economy, while the EU grows. Well done, Brexiters. Couldn't agree more, George only. Absolutely hit nail on head. Okay, so what was I talking about? Like the Downing Street's particularly nervous about West Streeting, but wants his support for Keir Starmer. Once he endorsed Keir Starmer publicly, saying that Starmer should be given a chance. All we are singing is give Starmer a chance. The immediate danger receded, and Starmer gave an address to MPs, an evening meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party. At this meeting, Starmer confronted the crisis directly, insisted that he would not resign, and framed the departure as irresponsibility. The argument was that the public gave Labour a mandate and he intends to use it. Go on then. Go and use the mandate. Go on. You got a 150-seat majority. Go on, do something. Make things better. Stop it. The fucking around. Make things better now. Hurry up. Jesus Christ. I know this sounds impatient, but it's been 18 months now. Come on. We give you a bit of benefit of the doubt at the start. Like, they're just finding their feet, just getting started. But fuck that shit. Right now, what's going on? No. Ernie Burns, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Blue Labour is blue, only good for the loo. Blue Labour, get it? I like it. Thank you very much. Ernie Burns, our resident wordsmith. And then saying Johnny Greenwood has requested that his music is removed from Melania film. It was used without permission. Oh my God. The cheeky bastards. How was Johnny Greenwood? I'll fucking sue for every bloody penny. He's a great composer. I know a lot of people know him as the guy from Radiohead, but he did the music for films like, I think he did No Country for Old Men. It was There Will Be Blood. Did he? Or was it No Country for Old Men? Oh God, I'm gonna have to look it up now. Johnny Greenwood film scores. He did One Battle After Another, which was boss. Yeah, he did There Will Be Blood. I wasn't just imagining it. He also did We Need to Talk About Kevin. Oh my God, have you seen that movie? If you want a movie that's going to depress the living hell out of you, go watch. I can't even recommend it to watch, even if you want to be depressed. It's too depressing even for that. Make you not want to have kids. Maybe that's why the fertility rate's gone off a cliff. It's because people have watched We Need to Talk About Kevin. Gone, oh, fuck that shit. Anyway, so where was I? So we've also got so Starmer's. I was talking about Starmer's address to MPs, and his central boast was that he's won every fight he's been in. Apart from all those U-turns, Keir was meant to project durability, admitting mistakes and promised to improve relations with MPs, particularly around consultation and inclusion. A strong line of attack on refuck was prominent, described by attendees as the fight of our times, which it is, and it should be. But I don't think the guy in charge of this fight, leading the fight, should be a guy who sounds like he's from fucking middle management. I know that's really mean, but like seriously, he looks like this, right? Could you imagine the beginning of Gladiator, right? And the commander of the fucking Northern Legions or whatever it is, doing this stirring speech to get, the people the people, the soldiers, rattled up for the beginning of this battle, to go in and fight and I'm gonna see if I can find the quote. I'm gonna see if I've found the quote, the speech, the speech and Gladiator quotes. Oh God, don't do this to me. Cavalry addresses Maximus, and Maximus. So imagine this. Imagine.
3 weeks from now, I will be harvesting my crops. Imagine where you will be, and it will be so. Hold the line. Stay with me. If you find yourself alone, riding in the green fields with the sun on your face, do not be troubled, for you are in Elysium, and you are already dead.
Oh God, that was okay. That made me feel, like we were gonna make things better. I don't know. God, it's got the war. I've got the war in me now, because I'm going to go out for the fight of our times. Because he made this speech.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Thanks, Keir. I don't know. Honestly, hands down, right? If there was a successor who was waiting in the wings, who I think would do a much better job than Keir Starmer right now, I'd be saying for him to go. And I think this is really tragic. This is the tragedy, isn't it?
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Okay, cool. Let's go fight the English.
Oh.
But yeah, so, MPs have reported a shift in the mood after this meeting. And, from kind of fatalism to a bit of guarded solidarity. But the wounds are obvious, The leader of Labour in Scotland, the leader of Scottish Labour, went, I don't want Keir Starmer to be our Prime Minister anymore. Unfortunately, it's that thing where he sort of goes up the top of the hill and goes, who's with me? And everyone goes, oh, I've got to get back for me tea. But come on, someone's got to, stand with me. Please, anyone. But even supportive ministers privately warned that Starmer's not safe. Survival today doesn't equal, survival 6 months down the line, and polling pressure on Keir Starmer remains severe. He's one of the least popular world leaders in the world at the moment. Some cabinet figures believe that colleagues rally because the alternative, a civil war in the ranks of Labour, looked even worse. One described it as choosing to step back from the abyss. That's hardly a vote of confidence, is it? It's hardly a vote of enthusiasm. Yeah. And then we've got the staffing earthquake. So we've got Morgan McSweeney, who left on Sunday. And then Tim Allen left yesterday from his role as doing the voice for Buzz Lightyear, but also being the communication director for Labour. He was in charge of comms. And he was an old pal of News International, pal of he used to write for the Murdoch Rags. But again, staff were informed at virtually the same time as journalists, and Starmer, as happened the day before with Morgan McSweeney, and Starmer now needs a new media chief. Why don't you employ a millennial? Or even better, a Gen Zer, or General Zod, as I like to call them. So today, apparently, according to the Guardian, Chris Wormold is the cabinet secretary, and he's in negotiations to leave as well. If confirmed, it would be 3 senior exits from the White House team in 3 days. Some in PM's circle regard his tenure as ineffective, particularly on reform and delivery, and possible outcomes reportedly include an eventual move to the Lords. No ineptitude without some gongs at the end of it, eh? Let no one who's shit at their job go unrewarded. Structural reform of how Number 10 operates is now under active consideration. But, I mean, again, like I said yesterday, the day before, this could be a good thing. Get rid of these fuckers. Morgan McSweeney, I'm glad to see the back of him. But I'm also glad to see the back of Tim Allen. He's fucking useless. Get someone good in. Why is all of our politics based on, like, I don't know, just hopes and feelings that someone will do a good job? Why don't you get someone who's proved that they know what they're doing in that particular field? Not like in newspapers, not like in something else. Some of I was big in newspapers in the 90s. Oh, fucking great. We're not there anymore. We moved on 30 fucking years ago. We've got the internet now, mate. It's a whole new world. You won't believe it. But the immediate future is like this, right? Gorton and Denton by-elections are approaching fast. Scottish bad result would instantly reopen leadership manoeuvring. Scottish elections in May are central to Sarwar's anxiety and could vindicate or destroy his warning about Starmer. And local elections across Britain will serve as a national verdict, whether voters accept this reset that we're going to see, I guess, over the next few days. I don't think they will. I think that Starmer is a dead PM walking. Oh, Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much. The biggest surprise yesterday was that Tim Allen's role existed. Well, yeah, I said that there's a clip of me and Phil talking about it because he came from The Sun, and I'm like, he's going to be shit. And Phil's like, no, but he's got experience in this particular thing that Labour need. Doesn't matter what his old political allegiances were, and then he wrote for The Sun. And I'm not saying I was right, but, he did turn out to be shit. He did. I didn't press that. That just happened. That just happened. That wasn't me. That was just the computer. I don't know. Maybe if I say some certain words in a certain order, it triggers something. Like if you've got like an Amazon thing or a Siri thing or whatever. I think that's what it is. But he was fucking useless. White House, Shite House. Tim Allen was also formerly of Sex Matters, I believe, says Gallifrey. Yes, he was at the transphobic group. He was part of it. So yeah, put him in charge of comms. Put him in charge. Fuck. But yeah, I just some of the decisions that these people are making at the very top are very, very bad decisions. They are bad appointments. the strategy, and it pains me to say it, right? But Starmer just isn't very good at this job. I think he was probably really good as a director of public prosecution. I don't know too much about it, but he got a knighthood out of it, so I suppose he was all right. But the reality is that as the job of Prime Minister, deciding on, and the Prime Minister's only as good as the team around them. Genuinely. And if you got a shit team, garbage in, garbage out, my friends. And Mr. T says, geez, they're the head of comms. Yeah, I know. Fucking cray. DJ Marcy moved. Phil talking pish never. No, Phil doesn't always. Yeah, I mean, look, I get stuff as much as wrong as anyone else. But yeah, it's just funny when we have a big Barney about something, and then months later it's like, yeah, that did turn out to be a bad idea. Yeah, if no one could have possibly seen this would be not a good idea. Dickhead from fucking Sex Matters and the Sun newspaper. Starmer needs to sack Imogen Walker from the Whip's office to stand any chance of convincing backbenchers McSweeney has gone. Oh, okay. What you mean, like the ghost of McSweeney? Because McSweeney has gone. But I know what you mean. Phil is fallible, but I'm more interested in his views, apart from Graham, of course, more than any other YouTubers or news. Yeah, more man, because Phil's views are grounded in stone cold logic. I mean, I know I'm more sort of, I take a more emotional stance, and we laugh about the fact that he's autistic, I'm ADHD, and it is the autism versus ADHD entertainment hour every Friday at 1:00. But yeah, he comes from a more analytical side of it. He loves his spreadsheets and his polling. Whereas I'm more driven by the fact that people aren't logical. People don't make, or this is my philosophy. I don't know, your mileage may vary, and I think the reality is somewhere in between the two. But people don't necessarily think rationally on who they're going to vote for. If they did, no one in their right mind would ever vote for the Tories, or unless they were filthy fucking rich. So the filthy rich do vote for the Tories because that's rational. But for everybody else who votes for working class people who vote for the Tories, I'm just like, you live in a council house and a council estate, and it's just like, what? Anyway, and Reverend Caffey says, sorry for me, Phil's logic sounded too much like misogyny. Misogyny? Who was that against? Was that against Reverend Caffey? Because I know Phil can be a little bit cold sometimes, but I wouldn't ever accuse him of misogyny. He's I think he can be a bit blunt sometimes, and it comes across wrong. I know a while ago we had a conversation we were talking about trans rights, and his attitude was, well, trans rights don't matter, and the way you said it sounded fucking appalling. And I was like, you don't actually mean that, do you? He goes, oh, no. What he meant was that people who aren't trans allies, aren't going to vote. People aren't going to be motivated to vote against trans rights. That's not going to be their main motivating factor in putting the X on the bit of paper and come the election. It's a small minority of weird transphobe TERFs, trans-exclusionary radical fascists, who go down that route, but they are in the absolute minority. The vast majority of people got better things to be getting on with in their life. But I guess the way that was put across, wasn't the best. Wasn't the best at the time. But yeah, I remember that discussion. But no, Phil, I know him quite well over the last, God, many years, I guess now. He's been doing his anti-Brexit videos now since 2018? 2018, I think he started. Or 2019, maybe. But yeah, Starmer did go to court, so Arthur Pendragon could go back to Stonehenge. They won. So Parfait, what? It was Phil being logical about significant abuse women and girls are. Yeah, and that's Reverend Cathy. I think I don't want to put words in Phil's mouth, but having known him for a long time, I don't think he's got a prejudice bone in his body, to be honest with you. But I think the way he puts himself across sometimes makes it sound like things that we care about, that we have a real emotional connection to, aren't as important as we believe them to be. And I guess in the grander scheme of things, whatever. But I suppose there's a way of putting it across. But yeah, I mean, I give him a little bit of leeway on that, because I honestly, he doesn't mean it with any malintent. And like I say, I don't think that he's. I've never had a conversation where I've gone, "Oh my God, I can't believe you believe these things." And you know, he comes across on his shows and stuff as quite a centralist, but the reality is he's very, very left wing. He's way more left wing than I am. I think he'd quite like to have a communist system, all things considered. Bowles says Phil has a habit of viewing things in a pure political sense, but misses the emotional content of his communication. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, Bowles. But I think that we need that as well. I think as talking heads online, there's a lot of people, I think, like me, who just go, here's what I feel about this. I'm very upset. I'm very angry. I'm very happy. I'm very, it's all about the emotions. Whereas Phil's more about the sort of the cold logic of things, whether that is appointments that I think are fucking crazy, or whether it's bringing in a policy that I think is just going to be really, really unpopular. But yeah, I think there's definitely room for us both, and I think there's room for a pure plurality. I can't say that word, can I? Plurality of opinions on the internet in this space. So yeah. Phil's very good at the analytical side of things. If you want your politics moneyballing, Phil's the guy to do it. And he's a really nice guy. Like, honestly, I know I say this on his mate, whatever, but he is genuinely very kind and generous, and he can be very thoughtful. So yeah, I won't have a word said against him. But yeah, Starry says he's just very analytical, which tends to leave the emotions out, and that's okay. He has a good heart. Yeah. And look, some very close friends of mine and relatives even are autistic, and they're on the autism spectrum, and I give them a little bit of leeway. I just do, because they might not know how stuff comes across. It might be neutral, like emotionally neutral for them, but to you, it's like, I can't believe you could say such a thing. But then you realise, actually, they're not being rude. They're not being nasty. It's just they're not necessarily thinking of how it sounds in your ears. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do think we definitely need Phil on here. And look, he's got 240,000 subscribers. So I think he's doing something right. And I'm glad he's on our side. That's another thing. I'm glad he's on our side and not. Although I think as well, it would be very, very difficult for someone like Phil to try and justify whatever the fuck we want to do, or the Tories, because there's no logic there at all. Anyway, so yeah, at the moment, Starmer's still the Prime Minister. His rivals are still manoeuvring. This has kicked the can down the road. That's all it's done at the moment, and the arithmetic is not there. We don't have the numbers for an open rebellion against the Prime Minister. But there'll be another trigger point. And Sarwar has nailed his colours to the mast. And okay, cool. We know that he's not happy with Starmer. He's come out and said it publicly. He was the first to say anything. I don't think that Andy Burnham has said anything, which probably is a good thing for him. Keep your powder dry, Andy, if you intend on coming back at some point. King of the North. I get that ad that tries to get me to invest. You know the one. It sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let your money work for you. I always follow it up with, give me your clothes and your motorcycle. I sometimes get adverts for stuff, and I'm just like, where's this come from? Where the fuck is this come from? I'm supposed to get targeted advertising, but for some reason it's like, oh, you know what Graham likes? I think he might like to invest. I'm like, I really won't, Got no money to invest, and if I did, wouldn't invest in fucking crypto. I'll tell you that now. Yuri had not had the 3D printers ad yet. Oh God. No, Burnham is busy making Greater Manchester the best area to live in the UK, says Mr. Tisk. Mr. Tisk. I think you spelt Liverpool wrong there, but I'll allow it. Lee says, when Phil did his I've got autism video, I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. There's a lot of us who've known Phil for a long time. We're like, it's like people, when I got my ADHD, meeting people from school who have known me for like 40 years, and I'm like, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and they're like, fuck off, no way, not you, not the guy who's bouncing off the fucking walls all over the sixth form centre, not you. Like, yeah, me. Would you believe it? I'm like, well, yeah, we can believe that, Graham. Bit of a textbook case. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the papers now, if that's okay with you, if you don't mind. We're going to wither the papers. Come on. We've got the I paper here. Mercy of Cabinet as Starmer keeps Starmer in power as endgame nears from the I. We've got the Daily Express here, pure fucking crazy vitriol mode because it's the Express and the Express be crazy. Resign now! It screams PM on brink as calls to go mount. So Keir Starmer's I had to plead for his future as Labour's Scottish chief joined demands for the Prime Minister to go. Okay. And what? Okay. It's one person. Final nail in coffin for Starmer. Well, guess you can stay alive in a coffin for a little while. Ooh, Viper Scott's just put £2 in the super chat window. Yay, thank you. Pot. Super chat window. Pot. Super chat pot. Yay! And you know what that means. It means we have to release the confetti once it stops telling me to subscribe. Go on, hit the bell notification icon. Sorry about that animation. That was not supposed to come on. Let me just change the properties so it doesn't do that in the future. There we go. Okay, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Bum, 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 bum. Confetti. Okay, so back to the papers now. Thank you very much to everyone who contributed towards the confetti cannon. And thanks very much to Diz for encouraging everyone to, do the whole cannon thing. Cool bananas in pajamas. Back over to the papers now. Blah, 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 blah. Streeting accused of no 10 coup. Number 10 coup. God, the English is difficult. A bosom-heaving, gasp-inducing thrill ride, says the Daily Telegraph about Wuthering Heights. There was another review of Wuthering Heights. Victorian purist, look away now. Wuthering Heights is brash, funny, and brilliant. BBC's Lord of the Flies is a trippy marvel. Watch it. King ready to support inquiries into his brother. I love the way the king is now ready to support inquiries into his brother, not his brother. Streeting there, looking like the doesn't he look? He does look like the Otto, doesn't he? From do you know what I'm talking about? From Airplane, the inflatable aircraft test pilot, whatever it's called. What's it called? The autopilot. Oh, we got another super chat. Thank you very much. More super chat. Plus, I have half a coffee, Graham. Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry. Please have half a coffee. Thank you very much for my half a coffee. Very kind. Just to go off on a little bit of a tangent. I was in York at the weekend because I went to see Suede, as you know. And so we got there on, and it was drizzly, it was a bit wet, but got there on Saturday. And had a nice walk around the shambles and the little shops around there. And then Sunday, I went to a little coffee shop and had some really, really delicious food. And it's just, I had what did I have? I had it was like a muffin and a croissant It was called a cruffin, and it had a slab of rocky road on top, and it was so good I almost cried. It was almost up there with the popcorn croissant that I had, or croissants. I had quite a few of them when I was over in Canada. I kind of want to go back to Canada now just for those croissants. Reagan Elite says, jump in the chat. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share, join, support the channel with a super chat. Graham, go on a tangent. Never. So anyway, I just wanted to say, York, really lovely. Just really lovely. There you go. Now we'll go back to the papers now. That was just a little segue to say York, just nice. Just nice. PM comes out fighting as cabinet falls in line, and the Prince of Wales meeting with Colonel Bonesaw there in Saudi Arabia, in the mud brick city of At Turaf, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There you go. Palace ready to work with police over fresh Andrew allegations. And then we've got these like news in brief things at the bottom here. So let's go through them. Carl Breach freed from prison a year early. This is the fantasist who sparked the VIP child abuse scandal has been freed from jail under the government's early release scheme. And then we've got medals. Olympic medals fall apart within minutes. We've got a problem with Olympic medals, like literally the medals are falling apart. And then we got democracy activists Lay jailed for 20 years. We talked about that yesterday. Reeves leaked budget seen early by 25,000 people who saw it on the website of the what's it called, the Office of Bureaucratic Statistics, Budget Responsibility, OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, which is funny because when Liz Truss was in power, she decided to not consult the OBR on her and Kwarteng's mini budget. And Starmer and Reeves did the right thing by consulting the OBR, and the OBR said, thanks so much for doing that, and then fucked up the whole budget thing by putting the entire budget on the internet half an hour before the actual thing was fucking announced. Or half an hour before the thing was actually begun to get announced. So we've got some other news here in the quick news here at the bottom of the Times. We've got new grounds for Brew. Drinking 3 cups of tea or coffee a day appears to lower the risk of dementia because caffeine can help protect the brain. We can all drink to that, I fear. Nice one. Grammar schools raise children as young as 6 are being tutored for 11 plus, blah, blah, blah. Lay jail for 20 years. Crushing victory. Japan's first female prime minister has won the biggest parliamentary majority in a country's modern history after calling a snap election. So, if you feel like you're going to do well, that's when you call a snap election. If you feel like you're going to lose your job, you don't call a snap election. Support Pub's plea from Tim Martin. Tim Martin. The J.D. Wetherspoon founder, Sir Tim Martin, has called on the hospitality industry to back Reform UK's pledge of support policies for the pub sector. The guy who, masterminded the whole Brexit thing in his pubs, where he gave out little coasters that had vote for Brexit and don't let the EU rule Britannia and all that shite. And now he's reaping the rewards of having a economy that is miles behind where it should be had he not stuck his sticky beak into all this shit. But, privately educated, of course, born into unimaginable wealth and power and privilege. And, he used it to buy some pubs because he could. Made a load of money out of those pubs and, used that money to make everyone else poorer because it wasn't enough for him to win. Everyone else had to lose. Gobshite. George only. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Streeting, trying to deny he was close to Mandelson. Yeah. In The Guardian. I never knew him. Never met her. Okay, so then we've got Games bid backing the runner. Keely Hodgkinson has backed a northern bid for the Olympics, saying it would be a dream to compete if the 2036 Games were in Manchester. Manchester famously they wanted to have the Olympics, didn't they, in the 90s? Remember they went for the bid? Was it 1992, was it? I probably still got it somewhere. I used to have a Hacienda t-shirt with like Hacienda 1990. I think it was 92, was it? That he went for the bid, and it was the Olympic rings, but the Olympic rings were flowers. True story. Not that I ever went to the Hacienda because it closed down for good 1 month before I moved to Manchester at the age of 18. It's fine. I went to a mock-up of the Hacienda. You know, a set that was built to look like the Hacienda in a warehouse in Greater Ancoats. So almost. When Tim Martin has pubs where you don't stick to the carpet, I may go to Pishpoons. Well, he's a big Brexiter, so. Gallifrey, man, I always feel a little uncomfortable when describing female politicians. One, they're women. You don't hear male politician unless it's for transphobia. That's an interesting one, Gallifrey, man, because I've heard this before about an objection to using the word female and male. And I know this could be a bit difficult, can't it? Because sometimes saying a woman MP sounds a little bit odd. Like the cadence of it isn't quite right. A woman MP. They're a woman MP. I don't know. But yeah. I think that if we weren't living in the current climate of transphobia and ridiculousness from the kind of gobshites like J.K. Rowling, who, you know, thought that she was going to protect all the women and girls. She woke up in the middle of the night. I've got a new life mission. A new life mission. What's your new life? J.K. Rowling. What is it? And she's like there. She's all her hair's everywhere. She's woken up in the middle of the night. She's all her makeup's like smeared. She forgot to take it off the night before. Too many glasses of wine, obviously. I've got to protect the women and girls, she says. Why am I swirling around so much? Because you're on your super yacht and we're in the storm. Ooh, it's exciting. I feel like I'm drunk. You are drunk, Joanne. Go home. I am home on my super yacht. I've got to protect the women and girls. Okay, Joanne, how do you want to protect the women and girls? Well, what I'll do is I'll make life fucking hell for trans people. Tell you what. Trans people, fuck them. Sorry. Did I miss a bit there? Where did you go from protecting women and girls to having a go at trans people for, existing? No, it's very simple, right? What you do, first of all, you go after the trans people and say that they're all terrible and that you can't assume innocence of any of them. You know what I mean? Wink, wink. Like we used to say about black people. Yeah, we're going to say that about trans people. Okay, and what's step 2? Step 2, invite a convicted paedophile to come to a big darkened room that I know will be full of young children. Sorry, a big dark... Yes, I'm going to invite him to the first premiere screening of The Curse of the Child with a Hogwarts on his nose. I'm going to invite him to the first thing, and he's going to be in this room. This known convicted paedophile is going to be in this room, with darkened room, with loads of women and children. The guy who's abused hundreds of women and children, along with his rich toffee mates. That's how I'm going to protect women and children. Oh, JK, no notes. What a fucking arsehole. A friend of mine was the manager at Wetherspoons, where they got everything ready for the morning, only to be told at 9 a.m. Timmy was closing it because he was only making £15,000 a week. There was a dildo protest, yeah. Manchester went for the 96 and 2000 Olympics and eventually settled on the 2002 Commonwealth Games. Or maybe it was the Hacienda 1996 then. I'll have to dig out that t-shirt. It's probably at the bottom of a drawer at my mum's somewhere. Reverend Caffey, why do you need to define someone's gender? They're an MP, full stop. Also, why to refer to them by their first names, but men by their surnames? So, I think that defining someone's gender, I think it is important because for a long time, women have been kept down by the patriarchy. And so pointing that out, not pointing out what gender any given MP is, would lead to a world where 99 go back to the world where 99% of MPs were men, you know, and you got Nancy Astor, the only woman MP. So yeah, I do kind of get that. I do kind of get that we do have to have some, we need to be able to describe people. We need to be able to say, they look a certain way, and that's a shorthand for most people. I think that's quite difficult, especially there's also a bit of okay. If you just go off people's names, then you could be in for a bit of first of all, it renders pronouns completely invalid, I guess. But also, think about this: if it's an English name, then everyone's going to know, unless it's a name like, I don't know, that could be either way, like Lindsay or Hillary or something like that. But generally speaking, there's not that many unisex names, and if there is, like Frances, it's spelled differently when it's for a woman. I think that you risk, when there's a foreign sounding name, not knowing whether that person is a man or a woman. So you've got like some element of racism that could seep into it. Not subconscious racism, but that could be a factor as well. So no, I don't know. I feel like we do need to differentiate, especially when it comes to putting someone in charge of a group that look after the welfare of women. I think it should be a woman that does that job. They could be a trans woman, they could be a cisgender woman, they could be a black woman, they could be a white woman, but there's nothing need to be a woman. But the other thing is, like, why do we refer them by the first names but men by the surnames? Reverend Kathy, I disagree. I'm respectfully, right? We don't. What are you talking about? Boris Johnson. Everyone called him Boris Johnson. That was his fucking name. No one called Theresa May Theresa. Do you know what I mean? It had to be Theresa May, because otherwise you wouldn't know who you were talking about. With Keir Starmer, people call him Keir. They do. They just, because it's a quicker way of saying it. And when Liz Truss was in power, I never refer to her as Lizzie, unless I'm taking the piss. It's got to be Liz Truss, because if I said Lizzie, you wouldn't know who the fuck I was talking about. So, yeah, and again, Angela Rayner, people don't just call her Angela. She's Angela Rayner because, I don't know, just the way that some names get picked up on, they can use the first name, especially if it's, I suppose if it's Boris or Keir, it's kind of a little bit out the ordinary. But, and I think with Margaret Thatcher, because she was the first female prime minister, woman prime minister, that she did get the name Maggie. But then what were we supposed to do with John Major? You're going to call him John? Hey, remember that prime minister, John? What, we've had like 17 prime ministers called John. So it doesn't really differentiate. And I don't know, it's just like, we don't have much time in life. And when we're just using these shortcuts, as long as they aren't prejudiced, as long as they aren't a slur, as long as they aren't having a go at someone, and it's just a neutral description of who somebody is. And yeah, I feel like if some of my trans friends would get really upset if I talked about them as they rather than her. I don't know. Tell me in the chat. Pork markets, says Gallifrey Man. Yeah. Yeah, it depends on the politician's name. Wes or Keir are quite rare names, whereas John and Tony are quite popular. Yeah. And Gallifreyan Ren says, I hope I never get bored of mocking Truss. And I think that's a good example there. If you had put Gallifreyan Ren, if you had put Liz there, I'll never get tired of mocking Liz. I would have just gone, but we call her Truss, don't we? Because then we know exactly, everyone in the chat knows who we're talking about. It's not a cryptic crossword puzzle to suss out. Reverend Kathy, you are making women an anomaly. We have MPs and women MPs used to define everyone or no one. I don't quite follow with that. I don't always call, when I talk about my MP here, who's Mary Foy, I don't say my woman MP or my female MP. I just say my MP. And most people do that, don't they? I don't know. But yeah, I do think that the number of the ratio to women and men in Parliament is important. I think that Parliament should be a decent representation of the nation. We shouldn't have so many privately educated motherfuckers in there because they're only 7% of the population. We should definitely have some trans people in there because they make up a portion of the population and they're not getting their views heard at all in Parliament because there are no trans people in Parliament, just like there's no gay people in the Premiership. Just really fucking weird. How can, I mean, as in football, not not as in the Prime Minister. I use their surnames. It feels more neutral, says Witchy Goth. But then again, I think that the name for Rachel Reeves, where people said they call her Rachel from accounts, I think that is a slur. I think that's unfair. I think that's really shit. Because that's an insult. Like, that's been put together as an insult. But using someone's first name or surname, it just depends. Just depends what it is. You do that. You do this with your mates. I know what I do. You know, especially your mates, it's in school and you all knew each other by each other's surnames. Reverend Kathy, do you ever talk about male MPs or men MPs? We never achieve equality while women MPs are aside from the norm. Well, but they are, because historically women have not been represented in Parliament. I mean, there's not enough disabled MPs in Parliament, but when we get to the point where there's a good level of representation, it doesn't have to be mentioned every time, and I don't think that it is. I don't know. I don't know how to win this one because I just think that we use shortcuts to describe people, and if their name is quite clearly male or female, then we'll just use their name. Do we talk about? I mean, we can talk about Rachel Reeves being the first female chancellor, but I don't ever see her being described as the female chancellor, Rachel Reeves. Or, I don't know. Maybe you have. Tommy says Rachel from accounting is just awful. No one ever called Rishi Sunak Rishi from finance. Yes, I know. Reverend Kathy's off to a meeting. After all that, bye. Have a nice meeting. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the papers now. Paper. Daily Mail here. King's profound concern over Andrew claims as Palace ready to work with police. And then we've got the ministers finally back Starmer after silence for 24 hours. Markets wobble as Scottish Labour chief says, go now. Rival Wes Streeting locked in briefing war with Downing Street. Cabinet bounced into giving PM stay of execution. Keir Starmer was clinging to power last night after the Cabinet gave him a late stay of execution. And then we've got, I'm Keir to stay. That's the front cover of the Mirror. And Royal Bombshell for Andrew. Charles pledged to cops after brother hit by more claims. Monarch reveals profound concerns over the allegations. King will help police. William and Cake says thoughts of all victims of abuse. Daily Star here on the right. King will help police. Chaz and Wills deeply and profoundly concerned. And then we've got relentless silliness. Emerald Fennel's Wuthering Heights. Apparently, right, if you just want to watch a silly movie that looks beautiful and has lots of sex in it, then go and watch Wuthering Heights. It's got nothing to do with the book. It's just some mad interpretation. And someone was complaining about like the fact that Emerald Fennel, the director, doesn't really understand didn't get the class structure right in the book, because it's all about class. It's about Heathcliff being from a lower class, and him cavorting with Cathy, who's obviously from an upper class. But I mean, half the book's doesn't even fucking involve them. It's about their kids or something. But I mean, that aside, right? It's just like, what? You mean that's an upper class aristocrat who gets to make movies like Emerald Fennel? Someone who went to private school, very expensive private school, doesn't understand class struggle. Funny that. What are the chances? I'm not prepared to walk away and battle, Starmer tells MPs. Rayner for leader site briefly appeared online. Ready King to support police over Andrew there. And The Guardian. My first loyalty is my country. Ugh, there's a picture of Trump. We can get rid of that. Don't want a picture of Trump on our screens in the morning because we're just having our coffee. So there's a really, 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 really low res picture of the Financial Times here. It is so low res, I cannot read that column there. So what I'm going to try, that's fucking awful. That is really bad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and find a better copy of the FT to show up on the screen because that one really sucks, the big one. And let's see if we can do that. Not for if we can. Let's see if we can do it. We've got, you can buy an island for £350,000. Oh, God. That's what islands are going for these days. That's great. Where's the newspapers? BBC website. Oh, there it is. Papers. Daily Telegraph, Times, Financial Times. Save image as. Oh, God, it's done that thing where it saves it as a WebP. Don't save it as a WebP. Fuck my life. Now it's not letting me press on that. Male MP streeting being described as a rival. Thames Valley Police are getting all of the celebrity SA cases after charging Russell Brand. They now need to investigate Andrew. Russell Brand, who was went to court, didn't he? The absolute gobshite. He's a piece of shit. He really is a piece of shit. Sorry, this is way more faff than it should be. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and bring up the front cover of the Financial Times on here. There we go. There we go. Look at that. How clever is that? I can actually read it now. You probably can't read it, but I'll make it a bit bigger. If you're watching this on a massive TV, you might be able to read it. But there's the Financial Times. Let's just quickly go through it. We've got China Critic there on the left of the screen. We've got China Critic lays 20 years a life sentence. This is the businessman, the billionaire media tycoon. That ran a left-wing it wasn't necessarily left-wing, but it was an anti-Beijing site, a news site, and he's been jailed for 20 years, and he's quite old. He's in his 70s or 80s, so he might not survive in jail. And he's actually a British citizen. He has a British passport. And then we got the story here, which is Starmer defies calls to stand down, which is no surprise. Now that's on the cover there of the newspaper. We've also got the US Embassy denies top executives visas under petty offences going back to the 70s. If you're in America right now, please get the fuck out. Just get out of America, especially if you're not American. Even if you are American, you should get out. Bosses living abroad stoke worries for London market. Barclays, CS, Vekkatrishnan lives in America. And former boss Stephen Carter has shifted his residency to the Gulf. They are among 19 chiefs of FTSE 100 companies who resign outside of Britain. So we should make sure that if you're going to run a top company in the UK, one of the top 100 companies by value in the UK, by market cap, I don't think I'm being too much of a dick here. I think you should live in the UK. I just think you should do that. And then we got the little stories here, which I can actually read now, just about. Japanese triumph spurs Takashi to bold and ambition. Prime Minister Sani Takashi has vowed to use her dominance of Parliament after her decisive election win. They can change the constitution now, the size of the majority. She's a big right winger as well. Like Margaret, this is the new Prime Minister of Japan. She's a big right winger. Which I don't think bodes well. Does it bode well? I don't think it bodes well. Caution Baudelaires. I'm just making that a little bit bigger because I realised my certificate's sticking out the side of it and it was annoying me. It didn't look that good. That looks better to me. Anyway. So we've got OBR leak proves costlier. Rachel Reeves' market-sensitive spring statement was seen online many more times than previously thought after it was released early by the financial watchdog last March. A review will say this week. Last March? That's not when it happened. It happened in the autumn statement. What are you even talking about, Financial Times? Have you had a did that happen twice? Did it? Did that happen twice? I've got mad in my old age. Southeast Water alarm. This is about the utility that left customers without water for days, has no internal audit function. Nearly 2 years after an industry body warned it could lead to service and financial failures. Water companies failing. Apollo dodges software. Tax and spend unpopular. Less faith in US payments. Europe needs to reduce reliance on groups such as MasterCard and Visa. A banking alliance's head has said, I couldn't agree more. We should have Eurocard. We need a Eurocard. And then we've got Iranian reformists held, and we've got olive growers pressed. See what they've done there? Because you press olives to make olive oil. So they've got olive growers pressed, a little one there. A 40% surge in cheap Tunisian imports has triggered a collapse in olive oil prices. So there we go, my friends. That's all of the news that is fit to print. Get rid of that now. I had to do a little workaround there because I couldn't fucking read it on the tomorrow's papers today. Why do you use tomorrow's papers today, Graham, rather than the BBC? You do newspaper roundup as well. Because they don't show the fucking sun. Whereas the BBC show the fucking sun. And I don't want to see the sun. It's bad enough having to look at what the Mirror, not the Mirror, the Mail and the Express and the Tory Graph have to say. That's bad enough. But yeah, you're told not to look into the sun when you're a child because you can burn your eyes out. OBR shock. This is interesting. This is interesting. So if you go to this, okay, OBR shock. Fiscal rules do very little to public. Premature access to Reeves' statements. So I'm gonna have to be a bit dodgy here. I'm gonna go to a dodgy site so I can read the fucking thing. But I'm so confused, like why that was allowed to be printed on the front page. I must be going mad. BUFU Mike says, I'm not really a fan of Jimmy Late, or I don't know enough about him, but his statement about being convicted shows more integrity than most British PMs. MPs, and probably PMs recently. Help me out, Diz. What's this dildo protest? I only just heard about this about the chat. It was in America. Market sensitive spring statements was accessed many more times than previously thought after it was released online early by the UK fiscal watchdog in March last year. A review will say this week. The October report into the OBR breach, which is described as the worst failure in the 15-year history of the watchdog, said a total of 43 requests from 32 unique IP addresses before it was taken down. I'm so confused. Can someone help me out here? Because I'm pretty sure. Oh, so the spring statement documents in March. This happened twice. Yeah. Oh my God. So the budget was leaked. The spring statement was leaked in March of last year, and a few people got the hand. The logs show that one IP address successfully accessed the document at 12:38, 5 minutes after the Chancellor had started speaking, and nearly half an hour before publication. Oh, I didn't even know this happened. Is this news to you? Because I was like, hang on, that was because they famously released the whole fucking thing. Oh, that they released their findings on the budget, the autumn budget. They released their findings at 12, and Rachel Reeves didn't get to her feet till 12 o'clock to talk, 12:30 to talk about it. Uh, that's crazy, isn't it? Twice in 1 year. No wonder that the head of the what they called the OBR had to roll. What else have we got? Love in the Wuthering Heights film is having a knock-on effect with Yorkshire tourism. Well, Simon, York at the weekend was absolutely hopping mad. Did they make the same mistake twice? It's pure incompetence. I don't think they published it. By reading this in the FT, they didn't publish it in by accident in spring last year, in March last year, like they did in November last year. They didn't publish it, but people accessed it so they could read what was going to happen. And this is market sensitive information. Please show link for 1 minute. Link for what? Help. Reagan Elite is live at 11, and here's a link to it. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. I'll the OBR publishes it early, didn't they? It says BU. Yeah, that was in that they published it early in November, but this story in the FT is about the spring statement last March, which apparently got leaked because people accessed it online. It was on the website and it behind a I don't know, password or something, and not affected the stuff. Graham needs to show link that is put up. Okay. Is this the Reagan Elite link? Here we go. So here's the link. That's the link. Is that the link that you want? I can pin that. There you go. That's the link to Reagan Elite's live at 11 o'clock. And if I'm going to be very clever, I can actually make everyone go over there. But I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to ramble. What the hell? Why is there not a new thumbnail? Why has it got the old thumbnail on this? What the hell's going on? Not happy about that. It's not making me happy. Why is it the old thumbnail? Oh my god. I made a fucking thumbnail for this show. I thought I put it online. I didn't. It's got the... Just found out now. I'm going to have to sack my producer. And that bastard who makes me thumbnails. God, he's a pain in the arse. I can't do anything right. Oh god, it's me. Oh well, I guess the thumbnail's going to go up then. Moments after this show. So there you go. Good morning with Reagan Elite. That is there now. So you will be redirected there if you stay on this channel. But you'll probably be sitting there for half an hour because I'm going to give up. Graham Deer's link. Okay, there's another link. Okay, cool. What's this link for? Dozens arrested. Oh, okay, the dildos. Oh, okay, that's what it's on. Sorry, I wasn't quite with it, my friends. I wasn't quite with it. Yeah. So does anyone want to watch the dildo protest? Come on, let's go and watch the dildo protest. Come on, life's too short not to watch the dildo protest. Let me just set this up. It'll only take a moment. But I feel like this needs to be watched because reasons. So here we go. Minneapolis at February the 7th. So that was a couple of days ago. We were talking about this on the show last night. On the show last night, we were talking about the shite. All smalls papers. Oh, that's no good. Why is that happening? Oh my god! I think I've done something terrible. Oh well, never mind. Okay. The question I have for you is: are you ready? Are you? Hang on. Oh, do you know what? I'm messing up the papers for tomorrow now by doing this. Oh well, never mind. When I go to the papers tomorrow and it's all like it looks wrong, it's all my fault. Okay, that's my producer's fault. Right, are you ready? You ready for this? You ready for a laugh? It's dildo-tastic time here on Politics Social. So let's go over to here and then we'll have a look. There we go. There's the people there. Actually, before we do that, I realised that I have actually got the sound turned off. Which you want to hear the sound, don't you? You want to hear that. You want to hear the sound. Yeah, we all want to hear the sound. The sound of the dildos hitting the ground. This is the dildo protest in Minneapolis, I guess. Where else is it going to be? Let's go. Let's go with the dildos.
You are under arrest. Be seated where you are and follow the rest of the officers.
There you go. From dildos. Pick them dildos up.
Free me!
Okay, nicely done, Minnesota. That is Minnesota, I think it is. But yeah, it's going to go down in the annals of history, that isn't it? That Donald Trump and his Gestapo goons went around and shot people in the face for looking at them wrong, and in response, the American people threw dildos at them. I suppose it's kind of humiliating for those stupid bastards at ICE, but a lot of people who've joined ICE have joined because they're immigrants themselves and they don't want to be arrested. How grim is that? How grim is that? So there we go. Viper Scott there having a little laugh. Diz is having a look. How long before the US bans or heavily restricts adult toys? Well, they are banned in some states, you know. They've got really strict rules about pornography and sex toys and stuff. There are states in America where I do believe that it is illegal to have sex in any other position than the missionary position. I shit you not. You know, someone from the government coming along with a clipboard and standing at the end of your bed going, nope, you're doing it wrong. Why don't West Ham do dildo protests? Look like pretty effective, and their owner owns Ann Summers. Trigger warning, lol. But yeah, I'll unpin the link to Diz's Reagan Leaks channel. Sorry, I thought that's what everyone wanted me to put up because there was a link. It's difficult keeping up. But yeah, thanks very much for drawing my attention to the dildos over in America. Right, so that's about it, unless there's been some massive new news while we've been live. I don't think there has been. And day of moment of change, says Ed Miliband. This must be a moment of change. PM not out of the woods yet, says former Starmer advisor. Starmer appears safe for now, but how do we get to this point? A credible alternative to Starmer does not exist, says polling expert John Curtis. Do you know what? Right, I think it's nice, you know, that these people get to have these jobs, but I say the same things. Why can't I do that? Why can't I get money for saying that? Streeting, Kendall, and Alexander arrived at Downing Street just in the last hour or so. Heidi Alexander has arrived, as well as Health Secretary Wes Streeting, and who walked in with Technology Secretary Liz Kendall. The big reset starts today, so we'll see how that goes. Please join us this evening, me and Ollie Bowler Hatman, as we'll be taking you on a tour of the globe to talk about all the shit that's going on around the world. There's been a migrant boat that's capsized in the Mediterranean. There's people still dying in Sudan, which no one's really talking about. There's supposed to be there's supposed to be a bridge between America and Canada, which Trump is saying they're going to stop building now because he's angry with Canada because they said things. I don't know. There's also been another US strike on boats in the Pacific. There's some stories out there about what's going on in the Olympics in Italy at the moment. Neil Gaiman's been the lawsuits against Neil Gaiman in the US have been dropped. Over in Australia, there's been protests. The people saying they had the right to demonstrate outside the Sydney Police station. And then finally in Europe, we've got the Russian minister saying that we've got a long way to go in Ukraine. Peace talks. So yeah. Goes without saying, really, but we'll be doing a bit of a roundup of the news from around the world at 7:30. Me and Ollie Bowler Hatman broadcasting all the way from Yorkshire, and until we see that, I guess it's time for me to start wrapping up, I guess. So if you continue to leave this on your phone or your laptop or your tablet, whatever you're watching, or your TV, you will eventually, in about half an hour's time, be taken over magically to Reagan Elite's channel when Reagan starts. Or you can just have that saved and ready to go. You'll be transported over there automatically after the credits. So please join our friend. Over there. I'm going to get going now. Just left to say thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Very kind of you. And yeah, until next time, I'll say give the like a lick. We always like a like around here, so just give it a lick. Give us a like. Canada, really, Canada's just turned all the taps off. Just turn them all on and flood it. Oh, yeah, I get what you mean. The US is weird. They're so sexually repressed. Always fun to point out. Without Sam Fox and Jordan's boobs, Murdoch would not have been able to afford to open Fox News. Yeah, it's the Puritan streak. It's the Puritan streak in their DNA. They were the ones running around in the Elizabethan times, shutting down all the brothels and shutting down all the theatres and all the pubs, and whitewashing all the churches and shit. Yeah. Anyway, give us a like on the way out, and if you're not already subscribed, please give us a subscription. Go on, subscribe. You know you want to, or even better, you can join the channel. If you join the channel, you get a lovely little rose next to your name. Like who's got a rose next to their name? Sid. Sid has got a rose next to Sid's name, and Martin's got a rose there as well. It is all good. And I'm right, so just press the join button. You can do that and become a member and get your name at the end of the show, and also get access to the Discord server, which is boss. You kind of like just join up for a little bit, and then you get to stay on the server. I tend not to kick people off unless they're being a tit. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, and until I see you again, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.